Over the last week or so, the Fallout TV show has been getting critical and audience acclaim. And it makes me wonder, are we finally getting that era of really well movie adapted media? You know, is a video game property now properly being introduced, and why? Why is it working now? Because you know what? I have some thoughts on this.
You need to go home.
So, full disclosure, I played Fallout 4 very briefly. I remember watching E3 at work about, nearly 10 years ago, and they were announcing, this Fallout 4. And what I liked about it is because, like I've stated in other videos on previous channels and things, I don't really do first person, but what they showed was you could be either, male or female at the time, and you could do it in completely third person view. And so I quite enjoyed it, but I get overwhelmed with open world games. Like I've been saying on my other channel, Shenanigan Plays, like when this Star Wars open world game comes out, I don't know how I'm going to manage, but I digress. So I knew a little bit of the Fallout lore, but what I loved about this show, one, it worked out for us because we literally just got we happened to get a 1 week Prime trial. So I'm glad they kind of broke the norm and just released them all at once. I'm very back and forth on that model. I sometimes like the idea of you have the water cooler talk podcasters like me and content creators. We have something to talk about on a show every week. But I also can appreciate, we are doing this with Shogun right now, that we are waiting until all the episodes come out to watch it. So it's tricky, but worked out for us because we were able to binge it in a weekend. What I liked about the Fallout show was it had the lore. It certainly had the Easter eggs. I could see times where she stepped, she got a certain weapon, or she was fought a certain creature or something, that there was just this, again, viewing as an editor, there was just this moment where it held just a second so fans could go, oh god, that's the such and such. And to me, that's fan service done right, because someone like me or my wife who don't really know the games at all, we're not like, I don't get it, or oh, okay, this is obviously something. It was really well done. I loved the music, because if you listen to the music, first of all, Fallout has always had this cool retro opposite American history vibe. I've always loved that kind of retro nuclear family look and vibe. So, but what I thought was so clever, is if you listen to the actual songs playing and listen to the words, they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect and describe what's going on in the scene or what the character is thinking. It was so well done. It wasn't like a Suicide Squad thing where it's like, oh, hey, here's a cool video, or, here's a cool music. Let's make it like a music video. And I'm talking about Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad. That was 10 times better. So everything had a choice and a purpose and a reason, which was really exciting. The costumes were awesome. The sets were awesome. There was a wonderful balance of practical and visual, I do think now, because virtual production is the big hot thing in visual effects and in productions, that everyone tries to jump on that bandwagon and it just looks awful if not done correctly. And that's no shade to the artists or technicians and everything. It's just one of those, it's like a tool, you just need to know when to apply it properly. And if it's not applied properly, then it doesn't, the audience just is like, something's up. That was great. What few visual effects that I could see that kind of stood out to me, they weren't too jarring. I mean, the battle and the town with the flying back and forth, that looked like that was wire work and digi-doubles. It wasn't just digi-doubles where you get this horrible rubber, Mr. Stretch gravity. And yeah, I liked the editing back and forth, that you got it. There wasn't too flashbacky. I mean, it was great, and it just really, really captivated the audience, obviously. So it's interesting because I saw all the reviews and everyone was like, this is the best thing since The Last of Us. And I was like, oh, okay. you know, and it got me thinking because we actually also watched Twisted Metal, which will be another thought, but it just got me thinking. That's like, okay, this is now 3 properties that this is actually quite decent. Maybe we're finally getting out of that era of just really bad video game adaptations. But you know what? Even that is subjective, because I will be honest, I really enjoyed the Resident Evil that came out a couple of years ago. That was like the 2 daughters and the father, Whisker. I forget that actor's name, who sadly passed, I think last year. You know, that actually was quite decent, but that's because it was more story driven. I really enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't, because I think they wanted a carbon copy of their game. But then if you look at that same logic, obviously different fandoms, different fans, different expectations, Fallout, the TV show, is literally its own thing. And again, I said this in my Deadpool thoughts, I think what also really made this work was the humor. Yeah, there's some body gore in there. It's not too bad. It's not too, like, much. Some of it is, like, almost comical. But I will say, my, like, slight critique was, do people not feel pain in this universe? I mean, there's a lot of limbs getting smashed and broken and taken off, and they're just kind of lightly screaming. Like, I'm sorry, if I got my finger cut off, I would be probably screaming bloody murder. Much less, you know, a foot stepped on or something like that. So, I mean, that was my only thing. I was like, obviously stem packs can do something quite amazing. But to wrap off this thought, I really enjoy the humor aspect as well. Like, you can have some of this horrific, I mean, we're talking about like nuclear fallout, literally, and you have like this funny spin. I think the chemistry between the characters really worked. And it all just came back to one, and kind of the reveal at the end. I do feel like maybe towards the last episode or 2, it all of a sudden like just kind of went from, you know, 70 to 110, because it was like, oh god, okay, we need to wrap this up. But I'm okay with that, and I'm excited to see where it goes. It was great. It's funny, I literally posted on Twitter I quite enjoyed it, and I think 10 minutes later the tweet came out that it got renewed. So I'm very excited. We will see where it goes. Who knows? Maybe I actually will work on it. Fingers crossed. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the Fallout TV show. So if you did like this video, please hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.